Hi, this is Lisa from Question the Narrative. Wishing everybody a great day on this 22nd of October. I would like to say Grand Rising, good afternoon, good evening, buonasera, buongiorno, all of that, and wishing everybody a great day. And I have Honey Golden with me today. Honey, how are you?
I'm doing really good. Yeah, it's been a wild ride the last, I don't know. I mean, it's been weeks of wildness, and I feel like we're kind of at a peak with the emotional part of it. But there's a lot of crazy stuff going on.
There is, and when you say emotional part, I'll have to share that and I too listen to many other people to help ground myself and put everything to get and put it all in perspective. But I definitely have noticed there has been this anxiety that I've had.
Yeah.
Like, interesting. I am normally not anxious, and I always am, and I'm able to pull myself back, say, still observe, observe, but I'm still noticing I got anxiety. And it's not the amount of caffeine that I'm having from those wonderful Italian coffees. It is literally anxiety. And my dog is even reflecting it. So we're definitely, what's going on, honey? What's going on in the energies that is creating this angst?
Um, so my nervous system is a little heightened as well, and I think it's the big push to get rid of the 3D from the subconscious mind. So it's not only from our individual minds, it's from the collective mind.
Hmm.
And people's stuff, like if they've been ignoring something, especially one of the big lessons like abandonment or control or something that they haven't learned yet and they haven't acknowledged, then they're getting a lot of mirror like stuff right in your face
Hmm.
stuff. And um, it's been really interesting to watch. And
Yeah.
I did a speech the other day,
Okay.
like, when I was in Ireland. I'll just get into this now because it's
Yeah,
basically the
let's
same
do it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did a speech the other day. Mark put it up on his YouTube and I'm sure all of his platforms. And
Hmm.
there was a very triggered person triggered about me, or their perception of me,
Hmm.
running around answering all the comments and saying, I used to listen to Honey, but she said there's no satellites, that satellites don't exist, which I said satellites in space don't exist because space is plasma. Plus, I thought we had a dome, which we did. I do believe that's part of my belief.
Hmm.
And how would they get them up there? So basically, the satellites are in lower Earth orbit. But none of that was said, just that they don't exist and, she's not credible. And also that I said the world was flat, which I've not said.
No, no, I haven't
But
heard
it
you
was
say that.
so
You always said
interesting to
you're
watch.
real. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the triggered human being right now. The nervous system goes crazy and the rest of the brain disengages
Hmm.
and they pick and choose what they want to see. And there's no use in talking to them about it because they're not rational in that moment because fight or flight has engaged. So I've seen a lot of people doing this right now, and it's better just to let them work through whatever they're working through because they're being pushed really hard by the universe to clear whatever that is,
Hmm.
whatever lesson they haven't learned yet.
Hmm.
And it's kind of hard to watch, but stepping back is important.
I think this is spot on because I've been hearing that same thing, and this is what's helped me re sort of stabilize myself because I even said it to my partner. I said, my nervous system is so out of whack. Like, if you want to ask another question, it's not possible right this minute. And it's rare. I mean, I think it's the first time in years that I've said that, where at least I'm observing it and noting it about myself.
Mhm.
There's definitely something, and I'm hearing this from other people, the exact point that you just referenced, which is everybody is sort of releasing the last bastions of 3D. And that
Yeah.
really goes into this whole idea of we are shifting now, and we don't want to shift those traumas, those issues from 3D into 5D for us, or to experience that again. So we're trying to
Mhm.
release it. And, really sort of the whole point about these discussions that you and I have is not to predict the future or to tell you when something is going to happen, because like any good movie, we shouldn't know, even though I like to go to the last page of a book myself. No,
Right.
but to experience this and to share, because we are the creators of what is going on in this movie. And that's really, really critical. So I love what you just said,
Mhm.
and it's really important. And I too I'm experiencing my triggers, and I'm noticing other people's triggers. And of course, it's much easier to notice someone else's triggers than your own, but I can see my angst is definitely a trigger. And my dog is trying to trigger me too, because he keeps peeing everywhere. So I don't know what that trigger is.
Oh, no.
Nah. But it is, I think everybody's doing that. But so are you feeling, honey, at this point, these are, I was listening to another beautiful person, talk about, we are in the shift, and we are in the shift, and it'll go through, as you've said, numerous sort of phases of the shift. Are we in that right now?
Oh, yeah. We're deep in it
Yeah.
right now. We've been
Just,
in it for a long time,
yeah.
but we're really deep in it now.
It feels that way.
Mhm.
So hopefully this conversation really comes into to say that let's look at what's going on for ourselves, for others, step back, realize that we are mirroring and getting these triggers out here. And let's look at some of the things that are happening around us, because there are some things, and some of them we can laugh at, and some of them feel very, very triggering for us. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Let's start with one that I thought was super interesting, which was the AWS, Amazon Web Services outages. Not once, but twice, my friends, did we get the Amazon Web Services going out. So, honey, now we know how important these platforms are for communications, for hosting websites, for hosting many things, many businesses. Was this a technical failure or some transition?
Again, it was a transition. It was also on purpose. So there's something going on. So, you know how Google has also changed their algorithm and messed up a lot of websites. So there's not a top 100 anymore.
Mhm.
There's a top 10.
Yep, we talked about that.
So,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. So that's tied into this.
Mm,
And it's kind of showing the instability of these companies and how something else needs to be done. So I don't know if they will have like Space Force take over the internet or something.
mhm,
Something's happening in the background, and I think it's already happened.
mhm.
But they're showing the instability just like they've been doing with flights.
What do you mean showing the,
You know how airlines are,
oh, flights? I
their
thought you said
planes
lights.
are
Yeah,
old.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So just
Yeah.
like anything that they want to change, they're showing how unstable it is.
Got it. Or extricate from the traditional hands, maybe
Right.
another way of saying that, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, so what I'm also seeing, as you did that, that triggers, another thought, which is that we're seeing multiple places, touch points, when we're looking at internet service without going through a carrier such as AT&T, such as Verizon, Vodafone, whatever, country or whatever one you want to choose. It started off by, and I remember asking you because I was so excited about the idea, is there going to be a Tesla phone that does not require you to have a cellular service, and it would go through the satellites? But there's also another little attachment, which is for sale. And it is to all go through satellites exactly like that. It's not the phone, but it's an attachment.
Mhm.
Is that part of this transition, and to move us away from payment of these services?
Yeah, I feel like electricity, communication, pretty much everything will become free. That's like a basic need.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I totally see that. And I think a lot of the cell towers will be utilized because I think they've all been basically put into the white hat control already.
Hmm.
Because most of those big companies were nefarious. And
Hmm.
I know I used to work for a very large cell phone company, and they were definitely shady.
But it's fascinating right now because you have, first of all, is the Tesla phone available, or will it be available where you don't have to buy cellular?
I feel like it's been kind of a seed that they've been planting. I don't think it's actually exists yet.
Hmm.
Something does exist, and they'll brand it the Tesla phone if they want it to be
Hmm.
under him,
So
under
it's the phone
Musk.
exists, but it doesn't necessarily have a brand or anything like that, does it?
Yeah, so they're still like litmus testing that. Where
Mm.
do we want to go with this? Do we want it to be a Trump phone? Do we want it to be a Space Force phone? Do we want it to be a Tesla phone? Where do we want this phone to actually come from?
How about somebody new? How about something new, not these old names?
Don't feel like humanity's quite ready for that. They need to
They need
know
a
it comes
brand.
from
They need
somebody big. Yeah.
That's kind of a thing. Then what about this little path that is the supposedly connects you to satellite services and you are bypassing cellular. So that's out on the market. Does that work?
I get yes, it works kind of spotty, feels spotty
Okay.
to me, but it does work.
Okay. So that
And I
sounds
think a
like
lot of things will be like a one purchase thing
yeah. So it should be
too.
like this transition now. Is this the beginning? Like I would just say, like, how do we help move this toward creation of these free systems? Because first of all, before we had these supposed smartphones that can track us and do all these different things that are quite nefarious, but also
Mhm.
are required for us really to exist in this society and be connected is that we didn't spend $1,000 on a phone or 800 or 600 or 700, whatever you want to say, and we didn't have to have massive cellular service companies charge us these amounts. I mean, the home
Mhm.
phone didn't cost that much,
No, I think the home phone was probably $30 a month,
right?
you know.
And
Yeah.
we had to share.
And I mean, I pay like 250 a month for our cell phone service and my mom's two little devices that she almost never uses.
Yeah.
So,
But we can't not, and this is really important
yeah.
because, but that's the requirement because the cost of just being part of society had gone up so dramatically. That's why I think this is so exciting. So
Mhm.
how can we support humanity to move into this place where we don't have to pay for these things that are the services that we feel like we should have?
Program your subconscious that way. There's a great song that says, I get paid to exist.
Oh, it's my favorite song.
Yeah. Start listening to that. I've posted it on Telegram, like the entire song. Go look it up, whatever you need to do. Start listening to things that actually are things that you want.
Yeah. This is
Because
really important.
nobody pays for anything on another planet. They don't
Yeah.
pay to have
They don't pay
basic
to
needs met.
exist, right? They
Yeah.
get paid to, yeah. And this whole thing about the financial system on that. Well, we'll talk more about the financial system because I think we're in a very positive space about that. But I want
Mhm.
to ask because I thought the Amazon Web Services was also another trigger for us to just notice and say, uh-huh, things are happening in a direction that are actually to our benefit, which is really important.
Mhm.
But let's take a look at another thing that was quite interesting, kind of a thing, the theft at the Louvre. So the Louvre, the one of the most famous museums in the world, in Paris, and we all know Paris and France is having their challenges financially. They went in there
Mhm.
and they stole over €1 billion worth of jewelry from the Napoleon collection. And
Oh,
and the jokes are around Europe because you got to have a joke. If you're Italian, you got to make fun of the French. If you're French, you got to make fun. It's all the good fun. Is that it was so easy for them to do. All they did was go in and turn. When the people were in the museum and the security cameras or the security system was not on, they just went in. They went and they took. So it was very funny. So it seemed very simple and very easy to steal those things, but. Is there a significance to the theft and to what they stole?
yes. The first thing that popped in is what was the name of that show with Tom Hanks? And they were actually in the Louvre and they were
Oh,
decoding
the one about the Vatican
Da
and
Vinci.
the Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has something to do with a decode and it's a message.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't think Napoleon was actually as nefarious as they make him out to be.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing. And when you were just, speaking about it, how easy it was, it feels like basically that line was being paid back, that family line,
Mm, interesting.
because those were stolen
Mm-hmm.
and they
Hmm.
shouldn't have been in that museum anyway, is
Mm.
what it feels like.
So it sounds like a lot of things in museums are like museums and then all of the antiquity in the Middle East, which we've been fighting for these lands, but for maybe the technology underneath that. There's definitely something moving around. But this Napoleon Jewels thing and the ease of which they took it did not seem normal.
Mm-mm. And didn't they close the museum down after that or something?
I think they did. Yeah. But
Yeah.
after the fact, but it was like, it was sort of like the Thomas Crown affair. Do you remember
Hmm.
that movie where he goes in there and it was not because he needed the money. He just was like, because I could. And then he
Yeah.
returned it, but it was all because he could. So there's sort of a little bit of a sort of tongue in cheek about this theft.
Yeah, because they made it so easy, but I think they had to.
Yeah. Hmm.
Because I think it was a return versus an actual theft.
Interesting. Interesting. So more to come on that. That'll be very interesting. So let's talk about another potential communication point. So we've had these protests in America about the No King protests on the thing. And
Yeah.
of course, Donald Trump, I don't know which one he does do, which one he doesn't do, the AI things, because it's all part of it. It's all a communication point. But is there a positive communication about the No King protest? And what does it mean?
So to me, it's extremely funny. I drove by a sign yesterday that said nokings.com,
Hmm.
and it was handmade, hand painted, huge in someone's yard. And I thought,
Hmm.
wow, you're
Hmm.
very triggered about all this. But to me, it's like if there's anybody that is not an NPC and they're still kind of unaware and still asleep, the No Kings is another chance for them to wake up to not wanting hierarchy in the world.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people get interviewed about the No Kings stuff, like during their protests, and they can't name anything that has actually been seen as, Trump being a king.
Hmm.
So the whole thing is really funny to me, but I think it's just another chance for them. And we're not doing hierarchy in the future. And also, like in Europe, they're renouncing a lot of their, like, I don't know
Royal
what they're saying
families.
exactly. Yeah, but they're not, I'm not a king anymore or whatever.
Mm,
So
there's
that's happening.
interesting.
Um,
Didn't know that.
yeah. And it's because we will not have kings in the future.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, I thought, it came from the left side, which I thought was great. It's like really interesting because it's coming from another side to support the fact that none of us should be looking at Trump as a savior, Trump as a king. or anybody as a king, because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, that's exactly the opposite of what we're trying to do. So very interesting. Well, they did it sort of in a fun way, and the truth is like we all agree. I think first, no kings, no kings.
Yeah,
Which is interesting that they stole, all this jewelry that are for royalty from the Louvre when there's no kings. It's all very, very funny because now we're getting into the fun part of the movie, kind of a thing. That's
yes.
like, let's all wake up. It's time. It's super fun. Kind of good. So then let's talk about one other thing. Before we get into more of the financial system, which I think is all very positive news right now, is
Mhm.
there was a note that said that they've discovered mosquitoes in Iceland for the first time ever. So I remember asking you a while ago, because I have just such a love affair with mosquitoes, she says sarcastically, that is this what is this showing us? The fact that mosquitoes in Iceland, in a place that is different, could be many things. Curious, what does it mean, honey?
One thing is that it's warm,
Hmm.
right? There's warmth over there. What's going on? And then I would say another thing is who invented the mosquito? Because the mosquito is like a distorted, nefarious little vampire, right? So,
I have to agree because it's taken a lot of my blood.
right, yeah. So to me, it's that, yes, the beings that were living beyond the ice wall are the ones that created the mosquito. So maybe the descendants of Atlantis, some of them.
Mhm.
Also, the tall grays were out there. So that's a defeated area, but so it's being I feel like it's fairly empty still, but it's being cleaned still up. There's different things that are happening there. The technology is amazing out there. But what happened when the ETs, the good ETs, went in and kind of conquered that area, they released humanity and then it was just doing the inside, you know,
Mhm.
um, within the ice wall. But the mosquitoes have a lot. There's a lot to say right there. But the first one is, oh, how could they be in Antarctica? Isn't it cold there?
Yeah. So
So it's like a little
Iceland,
clue.
right? No, so you're right. So it's a climate change, but also we've talked about before that you got that they weren't an organically created species that was supposed to be indigenous here.
Yeah.
Which we knew a lot of things weren't indigenous, so I don't really need to say just indigenous because they were all crafted. But let's take it a step further. Because the mosquito, as you said, is a vampire and it takes your blood, but it really takes your DNA.
Mhm.
Was it created to be a way to harvest DNA?
Yes, and also a way to pollute DNA.
So was it a
Yeah.
way to constantly keep us with the two strand versus the 12 strand architecture of our DNA?
No, I get no, because they did that. It was a way to test. So yes, yes on that. Like, but as a testing like thing.
Hmm.
Because a lot of the mosquitoes weren't even real mosquitoes. So you have the mosquito that's created and it's, a pain in the behind and it creates all these bites and gross things. But then you have the mosquito that's actually a machine.
Which we were finding out that Gates and his were creating these mosquitoes to vaccinate to all of the things. So okay, so let's go with this. So the mosquito, so we're clear that the mosquito was not an original creation of source. And it wasn't here for positive things. So when Gates came out and they were talking about the artificial mosquitoes, was that part of the awakening to let us know what was really going on with the mosquito? Or is that truly
Yeah.
just an artificial mosquito the first time?
No, it was part of the awakening. So there was that one and the fly,
So
the
the fly is
mosquito and
not
the
real.
fly. Yeah. And then also birds. There were a lot of birds that were nefarious in the past too.
Hmm, very interesting.
Mhm.
There are some naturally occurring birds, right?
Oh yeah, and there's more natural birds here now than like in years and years and years. But there was a period of time I would say when it was shifting, and that would have been like in 2022, 2023. And I know that we had a mechanical bird that actually was watching me one day, and
Mm-hmm.
I was very creeped out by that.
Very interesting. Well,
Get
they'll try to,
away.
if you weren't using the right tech, they're going to do it. But I'm super
Hmm.
intrigued by what happens. So a mosquito collects this stuff and also injects things. First of all,
Hmm.
what were the mosquitoes injecting in us?
Viruses, just like vaccines. I mean, vaccines are basically just viruses and heavy metals,
Mm. So that was,
parasites.
mhm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. And what were they doing with what they were extracting from us?
The mechanical ones were actually like going home, just like a homing pigeon would, so they would take things back, blood samples back. But a lot of the organic ones are just like, let's release the pests on them.
Okay, so just to create that annoyance and all of that, but also
Yeah.
that. And are we cleaning up the world of mosquitoes now?
Yeah, I think eventually mosquitoes, flies will not exist. And that's really up to humanity, too. When will the human agreement be like, okay, we don't want poisonous snakes, frogs, whatever anymore. And
Yeah.
we also don't want to have mosquitoes and flies
I've
anymore.
been programming myself on that 100%. And I'm glad you said the fly, because those are the two largest vectors of disease that is entering in humanity, the mosquito and the fly. And the fly has a
Mhm.
very dangerous disease that actually is quite detrimental to dogs, which really makes me mad.
Oh,
Oh yeah, no, this is really, really, really bad. So I'm really excited to hear about that. But also now it's funny now because I feel like I feel personally very connected more to animals, and I don't have a fear because I live in the country. And I was a city girl, born and bred city girl, and coming in here. And like yesterday, as I'm driving, I had a snail on my car, and that snail stayed on my car for an hour and a half drive in high speeds. And I'm like, okay, that's really cute. I'm not going to touch you. That's going to be beautiful
mhm.
and kind of a thing. And then we have a lizard. I have one lizard who has like a little spot, and I'm like, you know what? Your baby, that's fine. You go over there. I'm having interactions with them, which is very, very different than I would have been before. There's a calmness
Mhm.
about it. But the mosquitoes and I, no, we don't. We don't have that. And we're
No.
definitely.
Mm-mm.
So let's all join together and get rid of the mosquitoes and the flies and definitely anything poisonous that hurts any living creature on the earth. That's kind of my thing as well. I love that,
Yes.
honey. Super, super, super wonderful. I love that. This is very exciting news. All right, let's get into this financial system because we've been talking about the
Hmm.
financial system and we go through it in many different ways. So one of the things I wanted to that crossed my purview this week again, I feel like everything that touches us is for a reason and like another layer of what we should learn and how to experience. But this one was talking about a wonderful guy, and I posted it on the Telegram channel, who was talking about, he goes, he got it from another person. And he goes, this was so important, I needed to put it out immediately. And it was the foundational underpinnings of how China was transitioning to a gold-backed currency in a very subtle, very methodical way that was very good, and how it was the basis and the foundation of shifting the Western world, first of all, the US dollar, the petrodollar, from the non-backed system to a goal-backed system and how this was all working together in the transitions. So first of all, was that piece of information about what China is doing fundamentally shifting to gold, is that accurate?
Yes, I get it is. Yeah.
Mhm. And you see also this as a very positive movement in a very gentle transition that will be moving into a new financial system.
Yeah, it feels extremely positive. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but looking at your own bank, look up your own banks and stuff. My bank is getting ready to transition to XRP. So, like, they're getting
About
ready
that.
to adopt XRP as a
Mhm.
utility,
Mhm.
and that's going to be gold. So, and it's a pretty big bank. I think it's a US bank is the
Mhm.
bank. Yeah.
Okay.
But
And so how do you
yeah,
know that? Did you go and look on their website? Are they
I saw
communicating?
an article about it.
Okay, so you're aware and you're reading an article about it. So this is,
Mhm.
we're seeing a lot of this stuff, kind of thing, because we're supposedly in the end of November, there's supposed to be this transition going over into the ISO 2022 systems.
Nice.
Yeah, no, this is very, very important. So we've got that going on. But he did it from the fundamentals up. And it was what was striking about it is that it was a very gentle transition where China was moving around, was moving that over, that things were, this is not about the digital currency control. It was through understanding how gold, there was going to be something, and explaining very fundamentally that when you have an asset like gold, you can't manipulate what the pricing is. You can't print it again. You can't,
Mm-mm.
carry it with you. It is a fundamental, foundational commodity, which is why this was going to be a beautiful shift. And we're hearing this, and I want to go back to these two women who I think are very highly articulate about what's going on in the financial markets, and that is Catherine Austin Fitts and Lynette Zhang. Now, Catherine, we've talked about for a number of times because she has
Mhm.
been putting out and doing a lot of interviews and talking about this financial shift. She's more concerned that it's going that the world is crashing, and so there's some things in that. But I think in her communication, she's saying we're shifting, and that you should position yourself to shift. So first of all, is her? We'll go through again. Is her message positive for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's for a little slower timeline for those that still feel like they're a bit victimized, I guess is the way I'll say it. But it is good because she's basically getting the information out there. So
Mhm.
she's speaking to a certain audience, and it's the audience that hasn't completely empowered themselves yet, but it's still an audience that's very important because they're in their process of awakening. And, I think she's a white hat operation 2.0
Yeah,
person.
yeah, because
Yeah.
she's what I like about her, and I think also like I listen to it as well because I think that she is speaking exactly to the type of person who believes in the financial system, and she has such a deep knowledge about how the system worked. And I'd use that in
Hmm.
the past tense, how it worked, the fundamentals, this, and she's worked in it. And she was at she was the head of HUD, the housing and HHS department. She knows how you create money, how you transfer money, how the value works, all the different fundamentals of how this all works. And I think that really speaks to people who have had this strong belief in the system. And so it's like,
Hmm.
so it makes you think things that make you go, interesting. Lynette Zhang is similar but different. And I loved it because I mentioned her name to you in our pre-chat. And you had this. I love when Honey does that because when you catch her, she's like, she has a new little nugget. And I love
Yeah.
that. I love, first of all, that recognition. But Lynette Zhang also comes from that kind of background. And she worked in commodity trading. So she knows commodities and how
Hmm.
that created a foundational system. And she's quite knowledgeable, but also very funny because she'll sit at her desk and she's like, dollars flying, dollars flying. Just look her up because she's super, super interesting. But she too is talking about this transition. And she's like, it's too late to move back. She's been talking about how get yourself settled into some commodities and get out of the system. So is that, it's first of all, is Lynette doing also for the benefit of humanity?
Yeah. And she's doing it in a lighter way, a less stressful way. She feels like she's the original, which is, and that's what came in was like, here's the non-original and here's the original.
Hmm.
And the original is excited, you know?
Yeah, she is excited. Yeah.
So,
She's
yeah.
excited. And her message is very good. And the message is that position yourself and you will be fine. Because and
Mhm.
she, she was in a position where she was, sued by the current system. And all of these, these people, both Catherine and Lynette, have had these same issues. And they fought against it and they knew what to do and they persevered. But to me, the message, and I would love to hear yours, but to me, the message is that moving yourself out of the current system is a huge benefit. It's my dog. He's working hard with me today. Is a huge benefit to you to put yourself at ease, but you're going to be fine no matter what. But moving yourself out and doing this may make you feel so much more empowered, and that may put you in a position to be one of the people who are going to help us transition.
Yeah.
That's my message. What do you think their core message is, and what should most people be getting from the two of these wonderfully intelligent and articulate young women?
I would say it is to empower yourself. A lot of the world has always felt like they have to follow the crowd. They're a victim of circumstance. And it's basically like telling people, listen, go out and do something for yourself. Invest in something that is going to help you through the shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's empowering. I think it's important for people to step into who they are. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to me, when I think about a human being, they're carrying a piece of, source of everything within them, and they're having this different experience. And why would you want it to be so miserable when you have all that power to basically create a beautiful, happy life for yourself? And we've come here for certain lessons, and some people are learning them now. And some people might have learned them a year ago, 2 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
And it's just another tidbit lesson to come out of victimhood.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah.
I think this is good. And this is where I look at all these little tidbits and I say, no, they're not tidbits, they're quite significant things. And the messages are really positive. It's like, you too,
Mhm.
you have the power. Just move out of the system, move out of the system. Even if it's one step at a time, just a little bit, your consciousness moving out of the system really makes a big ripple within the broader perspective that it is just helpful for humanity as we're moving out of this, and that it's the belief system. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing people really struggle with the financial part because they've had such a deep belief that you work hard, you get this money, then you have that ability to do things and everything is going to be okay. And it's like, yeah, money is an energy, but it's the energetic
Mhm.
exchange. And I think that's really important for us to realize that we are the control. Like going back to that song, I play it on because it's on my feed. The algorithm on TikTok knows that I love it. And I sit in the car and I sing it. It's like, yeah, I get paid to exist. It's
Yeah.
fabulous over and over. And I'm reprogramming myself. But I do see the struggles that people go through moving out of that belief system. And
Mhm.
this is really exciting. And I just think it's a wonderful place for us to be on this edge and say, yeah, I don't need, in fact, I get paid to exist, but I don't need to get paid for anything because I can have everything. I am
Yeah.
that being, which is very exciting. I think it's great.
It's so good. It
Mm,
really is. And
yeah.
we're basically breaking through all the distortions right now.
Mm-hmm.
of the matrix, and it will go back to an organic, completely organic, beautiful matrix that we know we're creating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is very exciting to me because right now we are the architects of that. It
Mhm.
reminds me of that show, The Good Place. Do you remember this one? The Good
Yeah.
Place was a fantastic show. And it really it tells so much truth, and it's the architect of what we're trying to create here on Earth, which is very, very exciting. And it doesn't mean that it's easy for everybody right now, and
Mm-mm.
it's the experiences that we're going through. But I do see people, there are moments where it's like, oh yeah, no, oh yeah, oh yeah. And the energy, like my struggle right now is and I've been doing this, is to thank my money as I spend it for the things that I have to do. Because I'm always like, I'm going to control that, I'm going to do that. It's like, I'm thanking my money as I spend it. And I'm so grateful that I had it to be able to do that project. And
Mhm.
I am planning in my mind what I want to do with it, my vision of all these things that we want to do. And the more energy I put on that, the better life gets.
Yeah,
It is.
it's true. And the more abundance there is to utilize because you're being, you're treating it like it's energy, which it is energy. Your body's made of energy. Everything is energy in a different form. So
Mhm.
if you're respectful of all the energy, you're going to have more energy.
And this is the whole thing about this. You can't get rid of energy. You can't move. It just
Mm-mm.
shifts into different ways. So let's use it in the positive way. Well, that's why I
Yeah.
see the financial system as positive, and I don't want to belittle anybody who's having troubles with it, but we want to share that this is the positive ripples that we all can be bringing into it. So that's the message kind of thing. So I think, honey, we should wrap
Awesome.
up because it wouldn't be a
I
show
do. Yeah.
a show about at this period of time without talking about Three Eye Atlas, because Three Eye
Oh,
Atlas. Anyway,
yes.
we got to mention that. So we keep going back and forth about this. So it looks like back and forth that Three Eye Atlas was sent into to help us, was going to be here during this time, regardless of where humanity was, and that because we chose a certain route, it's going into a certain energetic direction versus another thing. Is there anything else that we should know about Three Eye Atlas at this time?
Just that he has your back. As a being, he has your back. As the object, that's a whole nother thing going on. That's like disclosure of other life existing. And it's kind of, are you guys ready? It's time to meet other beings.
So it's a
So,
hello, wake
yeah,
up. I'm coming up, I'm coming over. That's exciting.
right. So that's like a white hat program. But the being is an enormous being who's spent so much time on Earth and done so much work to basically make it better. And then also through sadness has made it really rough at times. But he's healed and he wants to share that healing with humanity, which means he's bringing back information.
Hmm. That's the exciting part because there was the thing about, all the negatives and the resets. And I know you've done numerous videos about all the resets in our history. Because right now, I mean, as we've talked before, this is about patterns. And there's so much more information about our history that's supposed to be, we're peeling that back.
Yeah.
Will this help us understand our history?
It will because the codes will be within us and activated. So we're not going to put up with not knowing. And a lot of the clues will come in just automatically. Like everything is stored in the field, everything is in the Akashic records. We have access to all the general knowledge and we have access to all of our knowledge, all of our lifetimes, all of our oversouls lifetimes.
Wow.
So everybody has access to their own stuff and to the general stuff. And that's the way that the Akashic records are now organized since the universe has ascended. Because in the past, you could get into other people's stuff too.
Oh,
And that is not
that's not
not
correct.
allowed anymore. So that's one of the rules in the universe now.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I've got new rules on that. Well, honey, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. I always love
Thank you.
that kind of a thing. So,
So fun.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the last words on that and wishing everybody, this is Lisa from Question the Narrative, wishing everybody a great day. And we look forward to seeing you later again this week. Have a good one.
Love
Ciao.
you guys.
Ciao.
Bye.